What up, and welcome back to Downrange Gaming, son. And I know I told you I was going to get it to you on Monday, but you know, Christmas and the holidays and no excuses, I failed. So I'm doing it now, and I'm going to tell you some great Downrange Gaming stories, son. But first off, in this gameplay, I had no idea that this was in this box. I just hit the box. I was like, whoa, yeah, what the heck was that? Cookies? There's cookies in this box? I know, that's crazy. And I was trying to open that too. I swear to goodness, I did not know that there was cookies in that box. I just had to hit it. But on to the Downrange Gaming story. So I think I left you last time talking about troops getting Jeep, some dude pulling his nutsack out, saying it's bubblegum, and stuff like that. So at Barksdale Air Force Base, if you didn't know, I was Security Forces, which is an MP, military police. So I got lucky enough to go on a law enforcement patrol, because usually when you're a new troop, you do a lot of security, you do gates, you guard the plane. So it was rare that a new troop could do law enforcement, because you know that was like you would have to be very knowledgeable. So when you do law enforcement, you're always rolling with a partner. So I was rolling with like a staff sergeant. You know, I think I was an A1C, 2 stripes, A1C, and we got a call. This is my first time on law enforcement. We got a call that some girl, I don't know, they got a call into the law enforcement desk. I forget exactly what happened. That there was a girl committing suicide or something, some scary phone call where she was threatening to commit suicide, or I can't remember exactly. So we respond to the address. Now she is a civilian that is married to a military member, and I think she was drunk like when she called. Or yeah, when we got there, she was definitely drunk. So we respond, and she comes out, and she has like some markings on her wrist, like she was attempting to commit suicide, but not too serious. And she like kind of like passed out in the front lawn. So we respond. We start. I remember I immediately started performing self-aid, self-aid buddy care. That's what we call it in the military. And I remember I ran and got the first aid kit. Came back. We called we called ambulance. So we did whatever we could. But I don't think she was like, her wrist wasn't really cut. She was just really drunk. And I think she would like got in an argument with her husband. He left. So we go into the house. You know, once the ambulance came, take her away. We go into the house. The house is disgusting. Like, it was trashed. This is a military house. You know, this is like a house that a military member gets to use because he's in the service. And it was really dirty, like gross. Hoarders, all kinds of trash around. And it had 3 kids. And I remember one kid, he was sleeping on the couch. We come in, the other 2 kids were just hanging out. They were kind of young. I want to say like from the ages 4 to possibly 8, in between there. It was 2 boys and a girl. And the one boy had the flu or something. He was on the couch, I guess, you know, and he just started throwing up. I remember it was like really bad. So we had to call, I guess it would be DIFUS, you know, Child Services, to come there, and they got like a family member to take the kids. And as far as my responsibility was done from there. Once DIFUS showed up, we didn't know where the husband was. We couldn't find him. We got the lady to the hospital. Being that I was only an A1C, I didn't have to really do any paperwork or reports, but normally, you know, that staff sergeant had a big report he had to do at the end of the night. But it was kind of cool, like my first time in law enforcement, I actually got some kind of action, but not great action, you know, but it was something. So I was talking about doing security on flight lines, which was primarily what I did at Barksdale, was pulling security on flight lines. But we always had to do exercises. And, you know, like exercises, you would work like 14-hour days, 10 days straight. We'd pretend like stuff is going down. Like, it was big out there. So we always had to do exercises. That's what we would call it. And we had to pull this exercise where we required us, I can't talk too much about because stuff is top secret and all, but it required us to be on the flight line 24/7 standing. Like, you had to stand in front of a plane with a gun, and there had to be one person at the front and one person at the back on every aircraft on the flight line for like 4 days straight. So that was a lot of bodies out there. And no matter what happened, like, you had to be out there. The summertime, you could watch the shoe polish melting off your boot from standing out there dying. Everybody would have like these funny tan lines from your beret, because I don't know if you've ever seen what a beret looks like on a military member, but it kind of slants to over the forehead. So everyone would have this funny tan line that like went across their forehead. It was pretty funny. But you had to be out there, rain, snow, shine. So this is Louisiana, so they would get some pretty crazy hurricane type weather out there. And there was this one time during the exercise, I had to stand up on the front of the plane, and it was like a hurricane coming through, and it didn't matter. We had to be out there. It was so windy. Like the porta potty is blowing by me. Like I watched the porta potty blow in front of me, and I'm standing out there in like sideways rain. It was miserable. I think the higher up commanders finally decided, like at that point, they pulled us out. Like that was too dangerous for us to be out there. But it like that's the extremes they would put us through. It was kind of messed up. And we'd stand out on these planes for a good 12 hours, you know, just standing there. I think they'd give us relief like every couple hours. We could go somewhere and sit down for like a half hour, but it was rare. Like you would be dying for your relief. So you'd be really bored out there. You just got to stand there, you know, and hold your weapon, just standing there being visual. So we get so bored, you know, there's another troop maybe 20 feet from you standing in front of another plane. So we pretend, this is how crazy we get. We pretend that we're throwing like a football to each other. Even though we didn't have a football, we would just pretend like we're throwing a football and then throwing a football back. Like, oh, I'm sorry, in the middle of the gameplay, I had to do another gameplay because the last one was so short. I wanted to make sure this video was 10 minutes long. And this gameplay is pretty epic. I go ham in this gameplay. Anyways, I was saying, we pretend we're throwing a football to each other back and forth, like to pass the time. And another thing is, I didn't smoke. I never smoked. But a lot of, you know, people in the military smoke cigarettes. You weren't allowed to smoke out there. But there was a trick. Like if you took like a soda can and you like flip the tab around and you put your cigarette in there and just the butt is sticking up kind of, you could act like you're drinking your soda, but you could be smoking a cigarette. That was something that a lot of troops were doing out there, which is pretty interesting and clever. I was like, oh man, if I smoked, I'd probably do that, but I don't smoke. So now here is a really interesting story that you guys might like. Back in 2003, I don't know if you guys remember, but a space shuttle called the Columbia crashed because I think when it was re-entering into the atmosphere, some heat panels didn't work, but whatever, it crashed, and all the, you know, the astronauts died, and it crashed. I think the debris went over like Texas and some of Louisiana. I can't remember, but they gathered the space shuttle and brought it to Barksdale, Louisiana, where I was at, and they brought it into a hangar, like the pieces, on the flight line where I was security. So I was doing security for the, you know, I remember they brought a whole convoy of trucks and stuff, and I could go in the hangar and I could see the pieces of the Space Shuttle Columbia, because that's where they were doing the investigation to try and figure out why it crashed. So they were putting it together, and I was doing security for it. They brought the astronauts that died to the flight line too, into a different hangar where they were doing their autopsies, you know, to see how the astronauts got killed and whatever. I actually got to see like one of the astronauts' bodies. It was pretty scary stuff and sad at the same time, because these guys, you know, risked their life for science. Anyways, but that was something that was really cool. I remember my family thought that was really interesting when I was telling them about it, what was going on, and I knew all this inside information about the aircraft before the news and stuff. So that was a pretty cool story. I thought I'd share with you guys. Now, I was still a real new troop when that happened, when I was doing that stuff. So, you know, a lot of the higher up commanders and colonels and even generals were, you know, around the flight line at that time. So, you know, if any of these higher ups come up to you, you got to make sure you know your stuff. You got to give them a reporting statement. You got to jump out the vehicle, salute them. And I was new, so I didn't really know too much. And I remember I was sitting in my vehicle outside the hangar where one of the where the pieces of the aircraft was at, the space shuttle. And I think a colonel walks up to my truck. You know, I think he's a colonel of security forces commander. And I didn't know what to do. You know, I was all like stunned because I'm a new troop. I'm all like, you know, nervous as a colonel. And I just stay in the truck and I'm talking to him. And he reamed me. He yelled, well, I don't know. You know what? He didn't ream me. He just, you know, told me what I was supposed to do. But he went and told my flight chief that I didn't get out the vehicle and salute him and give him a reporting statement. My flight chief reamed me. And my flight chief was mean as hell. His name was Sergeant Soltis. I'll never forget about him. Salty Soltis. He was this little red Irish guy from Chicago, and he was so freaking mean. And he took me, he was like, Wellens, come here. And he like took me out in a smoke pit because he smoked like a chimney. And he's smoking all these cigarettes. He smoked like a whole cigarette before he was about to tell me what I did. And then he just screamed at me because he got yelled at by the commander for his troops not doing the right thing. So it was like, after that, I knew my stuff. Like, I knew every reporting statement. I saluted everybody on time. What the hell is this guy doing? See him doing the freaking 360s? But yeah. And this is the first time I ever got one of these drone things. And I go pretty ham with it. Alright, well, I'm going to leave it at that. I promise I'm going to talk about my first marriage, and I'm getting onto those stories next. I had these crazy girlfriends in Louisiana, and I'll tell you all about it in the next Downrange Game video, son. And if you're enjoying the videos, make sure you hit the thumbs up button and you favorite it, and you're subscribed so you know when I upload the next one. Sorry that it was late this week. Christmas, son. You know how it is. But thanks for watching, and until I definitely went ham on this. I hope I show my score before this is out. But until next time, I will say peace on the street, son.